Alright, welcome back to the shop. It has been a week and time anyway. Welcome back to the shop. We are now able to move a little bit further forward. We got some stuff. So firstly, tuning machines are in. So we got those. I got some Grover. They're not the locking ones. I keep wanting to try locking ones, but every time I go to pay for them, I'm like, I can live without that for now. And so these are just the standard. I think they're the 20. I forget what the series is on these exactly. 102 18s. So they're 18:1 gear ratio, rotomatics. Pretty much, I think, fairly popular. And now on the floor. Chrome this time instead of the nickel. Come on, I dropped it way down here. Oh Lord. And on the floor. I'm not sure if I'm keeping any of that in. That's funny. Anyway, so, you know, rotomatics, fairly popular, reasonably priced. I can deal with these. Got them on eBay for a reasonable price. So those are ready to get holes drilled for them. Another thing we got, it's a truss rod. So now we can work out some more progress on the neck. I found this on eBay too. It's bidirectional, but it's a little different than the one I used on the 335. Instead of 2 screws, it's got 1 screw and then a steel bar welded to the ends, and it doesn't move very far, so I hope it doesn't move here at all. It actually has a barrel, and this stays stationary while the inside turns. And in my hands, I can get about a half a turn total movement before I can't grip it well enough, but I think it'll hold better once it's in the guitar. So we're going to set about getting ready to make the slot for this thing, and it came with some instructions, and there's 2 ways this can be mounted in the guitar, in the neck. One is like I did on the 335. I'll bring this over. On the 335, it sits basically, I guess, like that in the headstock, so that the access is in the headstock area. This guitar, I'm going to do it the other way, so that the access is through the sound hole. And so it's called heel mounted, at least according to these instructions, it's called heel mounted. And I think, from what I can tell, it's got a minimum length of the slot, and from what I can tell, 14 1/4 should bury the entire thing. Yeah, it will. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to mount it this way. And that just means we're going to try to get a center spot. I'm going to see how thick I need. The instructions say 1/4 inch wide. I'm going to just double check that a 1/4 inch is enough. This is 245 thick, so a 1/4 will be enough. But I'm going to do this in 2 passes because a 1/4 inch bit, getting it centered right off the bat is going to take some tricky timing. It's going to be tough to do. So I'll do it with an 1/8 inch bit, or maybe, yeah, I'll do it with like an 1/8 inch bit or something slightly undersized, maybe a 6mm bit, and make 2 passes over on the router table. This is why I haven't glued the wings on yet, is so that it's square so that it stays square as long as I can, so I can cut these slots while it's square. So we're just kind of double checking everything. I think we're good. I think I'm just going to go ahead and get after it. I'm going to basically rough mark center here. I'm going to mark roughly where center belongs by taking my square here and eyeballing a rough idea of where I think center will be. Like, say, there-ish. No, a little less than that. Like, say maybe there-ish. So just eyeballing where center will land, and then we'll just test it since I'm going to be cutting that part away anyhow. Put a mark here and check it. Oh, I was way off. I was off by 1/8 of an inch, so we come over. It was long, so we'll go 1/16 or so, and then we can try again. There we go. Now we're in business. I'm going to tap it just a tiny bit. Do one more quick test mark. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so this is now our rough center, so I can use this for lining up the fence. I'm going to do it this way here. Just want to mark the end here just a little bit, so when I go to mark the fence, or when I go to set the fence, I have the cutter basically in that vicinity. Yeah, that'll work. That is very close to center now. Okay. So there I just marked the end right there, so when I set up the fence it'll be where it needs to be. So we're going to head on over to the router table. Okay, we're on the router table. I've put an 1/8 inch bit in the router. Check this, that it didn't twist or anything on me over the few days that it was cut. Seems flat. So the bit that's in there is an 1/8 inch spiral bit. I marked my center line here, and there's a center, and then on the edge of, so I marked my center here, and then here I marked where the slot needs to stop, and I did the same on this side because we're going to run it through this way against the fence, and we have to stop before we go through, and then I'm going to pull it up, and then we'll come back this way against the fence, and I have to stop before we pull through. So the first thing I want to do is get the edge of the cutter marked out so that I make sure I don't go beyond that. So I'm going to bring my fence over just a little and lock it down, and then I'm going to take my nice aluminum square here and just put it against the fence, put it against the bit, and that's it. That's all we need to do. I'm going to grab a little bit of the masking tape, which I have 2 rolls out, but they're way over there. Hold on. I'm just going to take some masking tape here to mark where the cutter is. To give me something to draw on is what I'm going to do here. So I'm just going to stick that along this area. I have to actually leave room for the lift to work here, so that should actually be pretty close to the middle. Yeah, that'll be fine. We're just going to keep getting that further away. So, all right. Now we can take our square, put it against the fence, put it against the bit. I've turned the bit so that it's at its widest, and then I'm going to leave myself a little bit of fudge anyways. Do the same. Ooh, that was loud. Do the same on this side. So I'm touching the bit, and then I'm just bouncing back a 30-second or so, because that'll cover the width of the pencil and just gets me. It's a ballpark figure anyways, because it's going to get covered by the fretboard, so the length isn't going to be too bad as long as we don't go through. And I've got 3/8 of an inch or so to play with there. All right, now I'm going to reach in here and turn the cutter to its wide this way. Width is that way, and we've got about a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to bring you in, and I'll show you how I'm going to get this centered and where center really is on it. All right, so as you can see, the bit is up maybe a 1/16 or so, but it's way too far. So that's my center line right there, and I want to be very close to it. So I'm going to move the fence away from the bit a fair bit. And what I want to do, so since I'm cutting this in 2 passes or multiple passes, I'm going to be flipping it. And so I'm going to feed this. I'm going to feed this way first, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to feed this way on the second cut. So what I want to make sure that I do is that the second cut doesn't put wood on in between the bit and the fence. I want to make sure that the second cut cuts out on this side. Hold on a second. Let me think about that. Hang on a second. Let's think for just a second. So what's going to happen, this happens every once in a while, is this is going to cut here and here, and then when I flip it around, I actually need, oh, I know what I need to do. We're going to run it through this way first. Yep, we're going to run it through this way first, and then we'll run it through this way so that we're not doing a climb cut. We're going to be doing a conventional cut. So I want to make sure that there's too big of a gap here. I want to make sure that the fence is too far away. How do I explain that? Boy, that's a tricky one. I'll just show you what I mean. I think is the best way to deal with that. So right now, I'm going to take off those temporary lines so they're not confusing. Hold on a second. There we go. So right now, that bit is going to cut far from the off center, and I think it's a little too far for a 1/4 inch, because remember we're going to use an 1/8 inch bit, which is narrower than we need. There we go. So I'm going to move this a bit further away, and the idea is so that we don't take the full cutter size just yet. I'm just going to go about there, I think. So my first cut, you'll see in a second. Let's take a real quick assessment. The first cut's going to be done this way, and hold on a sec. We've got ourselves a bit of a muck. This edge is nowhere close to square. Well, that's a problem. Hang on one sec. Oh, it's because there's stuff up here. There's burrs. That's better. Alright, so this one I'm going to mark real quick where this is going to end up cutting. This will cut here and there a little bit. And so I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but that cut will be on this side of the line. I need to think. I need to use my brain. Okay. I'm going to get it really close to center is what I'm going to do. And then I will make, what I'm doing is making sure that, what I want to make sure I do is that I don't do a climb cut on either pass. I don't know that there's a way to avoid it. I think I'm going to be stuck climbing at least one direction. This one's going to push it against the fence. That's perfect. When I go this direction, ideally I'd be dropping it. Alright, we can plunge. Yeah, we're going to have to do a plunge to make the second cut work. Yes, that makes much more sense. Yeah. Alright. Sorry, I had to think through that a little bit. So, we're going to do a cut this way, and we'll go to this point, roughly about here, and we'll stop. And then I can back it out, lift it up. And then we're going to flip around, and we're going to do a plunge to get the rest of that cut and head this way. That way we can always be cutting conventionally, and I'm not trapping anything between the fence. That means widening the cut means moving the fence that way, not this way. If you move the fence towards the bit, you're going to put the waste on this side instead of this side, and you're going to trap your waste bit. The part you're cutting is going to be trapped between the fence and the bit, which is fine if you're feeding this direction, but the problem is the rotation of the bit will pull the stock away from the fence. This way, the fence is always getting pushed against. The bit is always pushing the wood against the fence, no matter which side of it you're pushing on, because it's always the waste on this side of the bit. I don't know if that made any sense, but I'm going to show you here real quick what I mean by making a very quick pass. I think we're good. So I got my lines here. I'm going to go like this till I hit about, maybe around in there. I'm not going to go right to the line. I'll leave a little bit of room because I have to plunge for the reverse cut. Then I'll flip it, line up with this line, plunge down, and finish that cut out the end. And I'll show you what that turns into here in just a second. Doing a real quick confirmation that I'm going to be cutting where I think I'm going to be cutting. It's going to be a shallow cut. I'm going to sneak up on the depth because first of all, it's an 1/8 inch bit. Secondly, I want to get the width right first, then we'll worry about the depth. All right, I'm going to pull you back out and you can see the actual process here. I just made a lot of cuss words. Did you see what I just did? Ah! I forgot I had to stop, and so I went right through to the headstock plate. It isn't gonna matter at all, really, but I'm just sort of ticked at myself for that for that little bit of a mistake. Damn it. Well, okay, so I'm gonna finish the second cut so that it's at least centered. I'll probably slip a little shim of mahogany in there, but I won't do that again. I will continue to stop cut, and the final depth will not be this full thing. Damn it, I hate when I do that crap. Damn it. Stupid. Oh well, nothing I can do now. Spilled milk. Wood grows on trees, it's fine. So I'm just kind of, why did I do that? But it's alright, we're going to keep finishing. But I don't know if it's readily apparent yet, but what I've been cutting is so that when I flip it, I'm keeping the wood that I'm cutting away from the fence. So we're just going to go ahead and keep going. I'm going to get this width set right, and I'll talk about it a little bit more in a second. Alright, I went ahead, I just went all the way through. I'll probably put a shim in there because it does sort of bug me that it's a problem, and I want the nut to have a good firm footing. But now the slot is just wide enough, and it's a pretty snug, it's a nice fit. I like the fit. So I'm going to leave the fence alone now, so you won't even slide. It's just a snug fit, so that's beautiful. So I'm going to leave the fence alone now. We're just going to work on the depth, and I'm going to get it until, what? I'm not sure exactly. I'll look at the instructions and see how deep I should take this. I'm not sure if it would mount this way or this way, upside down with the flat spot on top or not. So I'm going to look at the instructions and then we'll figure out how deep I need to go. Alright, so according to the instructions, it goes square side up like this, which means this end goes a little deeper. It's also got to be a little wider, but that's okay. I'm going to do that with chisels, I think. I'm not going to try to do that with the router. So I'm going to just get it so that this goes until the top of the square bit is flush, or really, really, really close to flush as possible. And then I'll chisel out the extra waste over here. So let's get the boring task of, the repetitive task of cutting the depth, and then we'll bring you back here in a second. Alright, so the slotting went very well. I can put it in here sort of offset so that I don't have room for this yet, but it slides in, it stays in all on its own, and it's just shy of flush. I can feel it just a bit low, which is perfect. That's exactly where I want it. So that's going to hold up nicely. So now what I'm going to do is make it so that I can adjust the thing. I need to make this slot wider down. I need to widen the slot down here. So what I'm first doing is marking where I need to do this widening bit. And I'm just going to take my square. I'm going to say right here. And I'm going to pull this out of the way. Put my square on that spot and mark across. Do the same here. And mark across. Oop, it moved. Do that and mark across. So that's as far back as I need to go. Then it's sort of a, how much movement do I need to put in there? How wide do I need to widen this? And there's some weld bead here that's kind of fattening this area up. And I got to lower it as well. So I'm just gonna stick that in there like so, and sort of set my square to touching it. And I'll go on this side too. I'm just going to basically pick the widest, the worst dimension, and that's going to be right there probably. And this doesn't need to actually be snug. It can't vibrate basically, but yeah. So then I can take this back out and we'll just widen this. I'm probably not going to go all the way to that depth for that width. Let's get a better line there. We'll do a line here. And so somewhere in here I can shorten, I can do that less. Yeah, so we're going to do a little less up to that point. So it's like a two-staged little ordeal here. Take a little less. Take a lot less. Yeah, it was too much. Go about there, and the rest of this slot can be that wide. That's very little being removed from that area. So I just want to take that pencil line away. Just need to widen it a tiny bit here. Okay. And then I'm just going to add a little square mark right there saying don't have to go any further than that. Okay, I'm going to bring you in and show you that bit. I'm just laid that out a little bit. I'm going to get it wide enough here so that it'll drop in this way. And then I'll figure out how deep I need to make it so that this area will clear down below. So let me grab the chisels and I'll bring you in a little closer here too. Alright, so we've got our layout. It might not be the easiest to see for you guys, but we've got our layout. So I'm just going to take my good sized chisel. I'm not going to go the full width and I'm not going to go the full thickness yet. I'm just going to start shaving down this way. And I see that it wants to sort of split, so I'm going to take my skinny chisel first and I'm going to make a relief here to sort of help it want to not split out. And I'm gonna think I'll lay this out with the big chisel and then I'll do all of that. We're gonna take this, call that my line, take here, call that my line, do the same on this side. I'm just making edge lines now so that I can tell where to stop my chisel here. I'll do another this way, like that, and then we'll carry that along. I'm going to do the same to this here. And I'm just giving myself an indication of where I need to not continue this widening effort. So it gives the a place for the grain to stop. And that is just about the right width for that. And here, and it's okay again if this is a little bit sloppy. It doesn't have to be beautiful here because these are just clearance cuts. So now I can sort of come in here and pare down a nice edge. I think I like this as a low impact method first rather than chopping right off the bat. So we'll just come in there with this and we're just kind of letting the grain split where it needs to, but giving it a little bit of help with that initial cut. So start here, start low, work our way back. And I'm just staying on I'm basically making a wall for the next chisel cuts to follow here. A la, what's his name? Paul Sellers. Paul Sellers, yeah. Peter Sellers is a comedian. And so we're just gradually there. And then I can get in here a little bit more aggressively now that I've established my marks where I'm going to finish cutting here. See what I'm doing there? You can, I think. I hope. Okay, that one does not appear to be going where I would like for it to go. We'll just keep on that. And then I may or may not need the narrower chisel or not here. This works pretty well. Okay. Like that. Just take a little bit of a chunk there to It is beautiful. That is beautiful. It's just barely under the surface, all the way along its length while it's flat. That sits beautifully down in there, nice and firm. Good, we have the truss rod mounted, or at least slot cut for it. Excellent. So I just got that plane to fit just nicely. Just got a little bit of glue. I'm just going to slip it in. I'm leaving the truss rod in there for the moment because I want to get this basically popped right up against it. Just sticking down a little bit of glue all around here. And that should be more than enough to get that job done. We'll just slip it, too far, like so. Slip the truss rod in, take this spring clamp and just cinch it, and then I should be able to pull the truss rod out, and that ought to do just fine. I'm gonna let that glue dry, let the glue dry, and then we'll plane this, we'll slice off the extra and we'll plane it flush, get it nice and flat. There, we're back now. It's pretty much dry at this point. We can call that good. I'm just going to come in here with my little Japanese saw and slice it off nice, as flush as I can get it. Try not to do any damage here while we're at it. I suppose I could put this in the vise. There we go. Pretty good. Pretty good. Now we'll go to the vise here. See if I can't get one face or if I can do them both. Let's see. No, the plane is too big for that mess. Go, that's flush. We'll do this. Yeah. Bodonk. Do this. This will take almost no time at all. There we are. Almost flush there. There we are. Took the pencil lines with it, but it's good. And the neck is now patched. I don't have to worry too much about that little headstock boat, or that little truss rod goof. Truss rod goes in and stops right where I'd like it to. Beautiful. Could not have it better. Could not have it better. Yeah, all right. Truss rod is done. I'm gonna look at what the next steps are here and we'll bring you back. Okay, so I've decided the next thing I'm gonna do is try to get some binding from this piece of rosewood. I think if I can sacrifice a 1/4 inch wide bit off of this as a test, it's probably worth trying. So I've got this little strip of, I think it's maple. It's kind of yellowy, but I think pretty sure it's maple. It looks a lot like maple, but it doesn't really matter because it's going to be super thin anyways. It's very thin. I think this might even be like 23 thou, 25 thou. So it's very, very thin, which is fine for this because it's just like an accent line. It's going to separate this from this rosewood from the walnut sides. So one thing I do know is that this rosewood can sometimes be a bit on the oily side. So I'm going to give this, even though I didn't do that to the rosette stuff, I'm going to give this a shot of acetone rub down before I throw some glue on it. And just get all of this cleared of any of the oils that I need to watch out for here. We'll do another run with a clean spot of the rag. And just make sure we get it as clean as I can get it. within some level of reason, I suppose. And then I'll slap on a bit of glue here, and that should, in theory, I really should have grabbed an acid brush. Really should have grabbed an acid brush. Thankfully, they're easy to come by in this here shop. We'll just get this stuff spread around nicely. There's a lot of glue. Plenty of it. Get it up to the edges here so that we get all of it spread nicely. And see about slipping this guy onto there's a lot of glue. This is actually way too much glue, but it's fine. Send it down here. It's going to slip around a little bit, which is why I left the piece oversized. We'll just slide this into this area here. Grab one clamp, slide it on in. No, don't want it going that. No, don't want it going that way. Ooh, or that way. There we go. That'll keep it nice. That'll keep it nice and aligned. No, not that way. There we go. A little more cinching on that side. We'll do one on this end now. And a couple more here in the middle. Just for good measure. More. Okay, so I'm gonna let this chooch, and we'll trim it up after it's dry. All right, it's been a couple hours. This should be dry enough. I just sliced the veneer with a knife. That was easy enough. It's so thin, cut pretty much like butter. Oh, I'm stronger than I was. No, I'm not as strong as I was earlier. Ah! I've heard of people talk about clamps loosening on them, and I've only had it happen like a couple of times ever. And I'm not sure what does it. I don't doubt that the phenomenon exists. I've just never really experienced it. It's kind of weird. I don't know what's different, if anything. But they never loosen for me. They're always tight. They always feel tighter than they were when I left them. All right. So now we have our little strip very well adhered because, well, I used way more glue than necessary. I'm going to go over to the router table and flush this up. I want this flush first, and then I can resaw it. So we're going to, or not resaw it, but slice off the 1/4 inch bit. All right. I'm going to do that real quick. Flush trimming time. So, woo, silence, music time. Alright, so we've just finished the flush trimming. It's nice and smooth, it's nice and clean. Take this over here. I've set the fence to a fat 1/4 inch. It's pretty close to like 5/16 probably. No, it's actually a little too tight for my liking. We'll do like 5/16 or so it's a little taller than necessary. And this will be just cut one. There'll be more. We'll stand it up and cut a bunch more. We're going to do some drum sanding after this, so let's get a little bit of noise and start slicing. Alright, this cut was really smooth, nice. I like using that carbide blade for this, especially in the rosewood. It really cuts nice. I'm amazed. Like, you can see how shiny it is, right? Look at that. It's very smooth. This might take 2 or 3 passes tops, provided it was parallel or square, and will be to thickness anyway, so that's perfect. Then I can slice the little strips off. So first thing, drum sanding, favorite task. Okay, it's been drum sanded. We got the bandsaw. I actually have to move it, I realize. I can't cut a long strip from that point with it back here. And so it's back away, or it's set now. I got the fence set to cut about 100 thou. That leaves me 20 to clean things up. The final is about 80 thou everywhere I've looked. StuMac, LMI, they all seem to say 80 thou is a pretty good place for binding. And the kerf on this carbide blade is about the exact same as that kerf on that 1/4 inch steel blade. So I'm going to get a smoother cut with the carbide blade, so I might as well use the carbide blade. I think I'm going to go with the maple side up because it's the fresh glue joint, and I think it might yield a cleaner slice. This edge is flat and jointed, and I'm going to run against the fence. This one, it'll be 20 thou oversized, but I figure I can clean up both faces by running them through the drum sander a little bit once it's done. And I think 20, we'll find out. I think I can get away with it being 20 thou. 80 thou is plenty thick, I think. I might actually want to go a bit thinner. We'll see. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, so I'm going to go with that and maximize my yield. So we're looking at 135 thou per pass, basically, because we're going to take 80. We're going to take 100, and then it's actually more like 40 some thou for the blade's kerf. But anyway, I'm rambling, and I don't know why. I'm going to go ahead and get this going. A little bit noisy, so I'm going to turn on the dust collector and all that. Okay, so with the drum sanding, we have got ourselves, it's 82 thou is what I landed on, which is perfectly fine, good estimating. And they are all very smooth, they're all uniform. There were 2 strips that did not saw well, sadly, because I did not think to do 0 clearance at the right timing. So there's 2 that the maple didn't stick. It stuck, but it was torn off because of the tear out. There was no support. You saw I put a backing board under it, and that helped a lot. But there's 2 that just, I'd say we probably won't use unless, sorry, got a sliver. We probably won't use those unless I need to do a patch or I have a small short section that needs it. But so out of the 7 that I cut, 5 are keepers, and I'm pretty pleased with that. That's going to be more than enough for this guitar and then some, if I decide to use them. I think I'm gonna. And they came out really good. I'm going to get a good shot of the final pieces here, and I'll put that in the video. So now I have to remember to do that. Every time I say stuff like that, I have to, when I go, I have to tell editing me, hey, editing me, put a photo of these little guys. Here, I'm going to take the photo now, and there's proof. There's no getting around it, is there? Ain't no way around it. Well, I have to remember how to unlock my phone first. And we're going to get a good artsy shot here. Try to get a little bokeh going. There we go. Editing me, put that picture in there. It came out pretty good. They look all right. The maple is the light colored strip. That veneer of 23, 25 thou, still kind of thick. I gotta be honest. But it's fine. It's like a 0.5 millimeter, so it's fine, and I think it's going to offset things really nicely against the walnut if I can just quit getting slivers from handling it. That rosewood is sliver prone. All right, that's it for that. I'll bring you back for the next step. All right, I think we're ready to put the wings on the headstock plate, or put the wings on the headstock. So I just cut some 3/4 inch or so cross section or squares. And I made sure that the grain runs uphill like the headstock does, so this grain will match fairly well. Hopefully on the end grain it won't be very obvious. So I've got just left and rights. They're flat on these faces. And they're way taller than I need, so I'm going to let them stick a little proud of this surface, and then I'll just plane them flush. Should be a fairly simple task to do that. So we're just going to smear on the glue. And I'm going to put glue on this one and use it to put glue onto this one as my spreader. And we'll use these two as their own little glue spreaders here. Get enough glue all over everything here. And just mush them around a bit. Got some on my finger. And then we can slip them into place here. So they're long enough to be able to work. And I'm just going to get a nice bit of coverage of the glue here. And the capillary action should hold it in place long enough while I work on the other one. Take some of that back here. And just get them somewhat where I would like them to line up. And let capillary, oh yeah, capillary is holding that nicely. Just let it sit just proud enough. And that should stay long enough for me to get it into clamps. And push you a little closer to flush. There's no point in turning all of that into sawdust, I suppose. Just need it to be a few thou over. Okay. It's going to shift a little bit as I tighten. Get a little bit more up here. I'm just being careful now. Could have just done that pretty quick, I suppose, but bring this up. Come on. Bring this one up. There. Get a little tension on that. Get a little tension down here. Get a little bit of squeeze out all around. There we go. Yeah, that one's proud enough. And cinch it down nice. Looks like we're plenty over the surface of these. That's the big thing. I just want to make sure I'm not too low. And we'll let that dry, and then we'll come back and plane it flush. Alright, now, hold on, you're going to fall. Okay, now I've got the wings for the headstock. Have had plenty of time to cure and dry. And we just want to flush those up now, I think. We'll try doing that. I believe I can do that right here. Like so, I think. We're going to try. We'll see how that does. Get some of the Dave's famous plane on here. I'm going to start out by just getting these high ones, the high spots out here. Try not to hit that stuff too much. Okay, do the same to this side. There's a lot there. There's a lot there. I'm just taking a tiny little more than I would have normally. There we go. Perfect. Now, are we flat? No, we took a little too much off that outer edge, so I'm going to take a little out of the center here. Feather it this way. Let's see how we're doing now. A lot better. What are we doing okay here? Yeah, we're good. Okay. So I'm going to call that pretty much flat. And that'll do just fine. And I can mark for my headstock shape there. And we can do all that stuff. All right. I think my next steps, I don't know yet. I think it's time to figure out what my next steps will be. Shavings and stuff here. Yeah, staying flat. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. I might take this to the bandsaw just to get rid of the excess. There's like a more than an eighth. There's like 3/16 excess. I might just slice that off on the bandsaw real fast. We'll see. But there we are. We have the wings on the neck, which honestly the grain lines match nicely enough that I don't think I'm going to have to worry too much about it being obvious. So there we go. That's it for the headstock plate for now. For the headstock Watchamer curlet shape, the wings. We're going to figure out what our next steps are here, and I'll bring you back.